So investing for growth. I mean, I think for a long time, CFOs have tended to be those that have driven cost-cutting measures in organisations. And don't get me wrong, they have their place. The attraction of a cost-cutting exercise is that you can pretty much manage it and deliver a number that you need to manage. I mean, it's relatively straightforward, not without its difficulties, but relatively straightforward to deliver cost savings. You just end up spending less, reduce budgets, cut headcount, whatever you do, fine. So I kind of look at that sort of, I don't describe it as easy, but it's more simple because it's in your own destiny. You can control it yourself. Investing for growth, wow, that is tricky. That's much, much harder because number one, it's a bit like buying a business that you know nothing about. You're being asked to invest in something that may or may not exist in the future. Well, crikey, that's hard work to believe that it's necessarily going to do what those asking for the investment say that it's going to do in the future. I think the way that we approach it, and I approach it, is that number one is sort of setting an amount aside and understanding that amount that you are going to be using for investing for growth. So let's say, for example, you target 10% of your revenues. Okay, and you let it be known that that's what we're looking at within the group. We actually do target a number like that, and we're pretty close to achieving that pretty much every year. And then what we do is that we ask our businesses to submit their ideas, and we require them to ensure that the investment fits within the overall strategy of the company. So we pretend to prefer investment for growth, where it's in the context of the overall developing of the business, which strategy that they've described. And that makes it, number one, a bit more easy in any event. We tend to look to have sort of good customer and market research around that investment so that it's supported by a reasonable amount of data to back up the decision. And what we tend to do is we tend to have milestones along the way for that investment, that it's not just a case of saying, yes, we agree to a £100 million investment, there you go. We might have milestones along the way, that let's say the first £20 million achieves a certain milestone, and that's a sort of staging gate to then take us on to the next stage of the investment. Then what you're also trying to do is understand what's supposed to be delivered from the investment, and is it flowing through the way it was portrayed that it would. Another angle that comes in that's very, very important is how you account for it, but how you adjust for it and how you structure your incentive schemes for investing for growth. Now, what we've found is that if we have a simple investment scheme incentive scheme that's around profit, for example, measuring profit, that is a disincentive to invest for growth, because you're going to reduce your margin, reduce your profits, and you get a smaller bonus. Now that surely can't be right in the long run. So we devise our incentive schemes that take account of that investment and almost give a little bit of a holiday for that portion of spend, or profit relief we call it, for when we've identified spend that is the investment for the future. The bit to be careful of course, is if you're not careful, too much of that is taking place and everything's being claimed as investment for growth. So that's a trick to watch out for. Ultimately, though, what a CFO can't do is put barriers in place to that investment, because then you're going to ultimately kill off the business. So it needs to be enough, but not too much, spent in the right places, measured properly, managed carefully, appraised on a regular basis with milestones in place. It's not easy though. It really isn't easy, because you're going out to the great unknown. The investment is not proven until people start buying the product or the service or whatever it might be. So hugely complicated, challenging area, so subjective in the initial evaluation. But I think often it comes down to using good data to support the initial decision, but also then good judgment and instinct to say, yeah, let's go for it. You've got to take some risks in business. We've all got to invest for growth. And a lot of the time you're going in there sort of crossing your fingers. But, in the main it works for us, but it's such an important part of a CFO's job.